What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel. And, well, it finished RC Lens 2, Arsenal 1, and just a hugely underwhelming performance. We do have these. This reminded me an awful lot of when we went to Everton last season and just didn't turn up. Played the game at a walking pace. It's hard for me to know exactly where to point the finger of blame, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to come up with explanations. Is this result symptomatic of a larger problem that we've seen this season where we haven't really clicked, or is it an aberration? Well, the first thing I want to say about this game is that if you have a game and you lose a game because of 2 or 3 bad performances, it's hard to really blame the manager. But when there's 8 or 9, then there's something wrong with the setup. Now, I want to start with talking about the lineup because there's no question that this is one of the strongest lineups he could have played. And for me, that's already problematic because we do have the massive game against City on Sunday. City look eminently beatable. They'll have a day less to recover. They're already missing some key players. And of course, they've just been beaten for the first time this season. So we have a chance to inflict their second defeat in a row. Third, if you count their League Cup exit to Newcastle. So this is such a big occasion for us. And following on from beating them in the Community Shield on penalties, a real chance to assert ourselves as a rising force, someone that they should be afraid of. You want to keep your best players fit, and to see Saka starting when he'd limped off against Bournemouth was a bit of a head scratcher. It felt like complacency and tiredness. Now, he rested Ben White, and I think that felt like a really good decision. Tomiyasu needs minutes. He's usually really reliable, and I don't think he had a bad game, actually, overall. He doesn't quite offer you what Ben White does going forward, and he doesn't quite support Saka in the same way. Trossard, well, it was great to see him back fit. Certainly wasn't expecting him to start, and the fact that he did and didn't play particularly well, it leaves you asking the question, couldn't we have started Nelson in this game? Overall, I think one of the most frustrating things about this game was our inability to win duels. Almost everywhere across the pitch. I don't think Zinchenko won one. Kai Havertz is actually on the pitch for that purpose and wasn't doing it. I think that speaks to a kind of perhaps a lack of energy. Perhaps it was complacency. Perhaps we thought, look, since Lens are rooted to the bottom of Ligue 1 and everyone knows that's a farmers' league and these are all easy games, perhaps we just didn't get our temperament right on a night. And for things like that, that's why you have a strong bench. That's why you bring in players who are looking to impress in the few chances they get. The lineup, starting with Raya in for Ramsdale. And I want to talk a little bit about David Raya because I'm glad we've got 2 top goalkeepers at the club. I don't think Ramsdale was playing particularly well when he lost his place to Raya. And of course, Raya's had the clean sheets. But I want to address one particular facet of why we apparently brought Raya in. And that was because last season, his long distribution was outstanding. He was hitting Ivan Toney. In this game, he attempted 12 long passes and only 3 of them completed. They were hopeless. And what was difficult about that is it gave the ball away when you really do just want to keep possession better and calm. Look, that atmosphere in that stadium when they went to 1-1, it was a problem for us. At half-time, I was frustrated because with Saka having gone off, to be replaced by Vieira, when you looked at the front 3 of Trossard, Jesus and Saka, you could see that we had the ability to stretch the play wide. Vieira doesn't naturally do that, and I think plays better in games where there's more space to pass into, and certainly has played better on the left than I haven't seen him play that often on the right. So it felt to me like there were better choices that could have been made. For example, Jesus could go out wide, Trossard could play through the centre, and you could bring Emil Smith-Rowe on. Or you could swap Trossard, put him on the right, and play Nelson through the middle. There are any number of opportunities that make more. There are any number of alternatives that made more sense to me than Vieira, and that kind of got proven. The key issue, though, I think, if this is symptomatic of a broader problem, is our inability to play vertically. Too often, when Odegaard and Kai Havertz are getting the ball comes straight back again. There isn't that twist and move forward and run with the ball. And when you have a player like Emil Smith-Rowe on the bench who typifies that, exemplifies it, is a standout player for doing that. And I think how different it would have been tonight if his shot, his powerful shot, had been a goal instead of being saved. I think if this is symptomatic of a broader problem, it is just that maybe Kai Havertz and Odegaard are too similar. I'm really thrilled that Kai Havertz scored his goal. I think there's a place for him. But Arteta is giving him a lot of rope to hang himself on. Vieira would have made more sense in that position. I wasn't necessarily angling for him to start. But I do think that when you put all of these things together, the fact that we haven't rested our players for Sunday, then it starts to smack of the same mistakes we made in the Europa League last season. The big debate about whether you should play your strongest side or you should keep something back, for me, was a silly question last season because we didn't have a big enough squad. So it would have been better to play a second string team and go out to Sporting than it was to lose Saliba and Tomiyasu. We only have 6 fit defenders, and so we can't rotate in the way that we really want to. I accept that. But we can be rotating Saka. We have to consider not playing him in every single available minute. Now, apparently after the game, and this is extremely worrying, Arteta was quoted by a journalist present as saying it doesn't look good when he was talking about Saka's injury. And I don't know what happened, if it was the same injury that he didn't seem to want to come off the pitch. It felt very much like it was a cautionary decision. If you need your very best players to beat Lens, then you don't have a bench at all. We are going to need to dip into the transfer market in January because one of the other problems we had in this game was there wasn't a player who was determined to get into that box. The phrase "fox in the box" is synonymous with a failed attempt to buy that kind of striker when we bought Francis Jeffers, and I do still think we need that. I don't think it's Ivan Toney that we need. I'm keen to see Victor Osimhen come in, but certainly we need a player who's going to make a beeline for the box, and therefore it might have made sense to bring Eddie Nketiah on sooner. I think overall you have to say Arteta got some of these selections slightly wrong and wasn't quick enough to spot the changes needed to be made. Trossard, Havertz and Odegaard weren't playing well. Why not freshen it up? It could have made a lot of sense to me with Saka off. Bring on Eddie, bring on Nelson, bring on Emil Smith-Rowe. That said, when Nelson came on, not only was he often not being passed to, but when he was, it was a little bit too casual. And I get that's part of his game. He's calm and collected, but sometimes that comes across as just not. I want players to run with the ball. When we don't have Saka and Martinelli, that's what we're really missing. We're really missing that burst of pace. Trossard wasn't able to deliver that. I don't know if he's fully fit. And Vieira certainly wasn't able to deliver that. So we began to lose that connection between the midfield. And when they did sit back and let us press onto them, it was as static as I can remember seeing us. You need a little bit more bravery. So, did the occasion get to us? Are these young players, will they have learnt from it? Has Arteta learnt from it? Will we see Kai Havertz against City? And if we see him, will we see him in this position, in this 8th position? Is it okay to say, look, he'll have a long and happy career at Arsenal, but it doesn't have to all happen at once? The frustration I felt with Arteta was that there are some players who he's ruthless in dropping or not giving minutes to, and other players that he will persist with. And this takes me all the way back to Willian, and when it was only Arteta that felt that Willian should be in the side, and it took him far too long to replace him with Emil Smith-Rowe. I'm not reading too much into this. Lens is a team that I was at the Wembley game that, the commentary team mentioned that Lens still talk about 99 when they came to Wembley and beat us 1-0. It's teams that you expect to roll over. It is never as easy as that. And I think, when you lose like we did, when you're off the pace like we were, then you have to look at the preparation. Are a lot of the players already thinking about Sunday? Are they just turning up and expecting to win this? I haven't seen Arteta's press conference yet. I haven't seen his post-match interview yet. And I'm kind of guessing what he's going to say already. He's going to talk about, what went well. But we lost this game because we didn't fight. We weren't creative. We weren't energetic enough. We didn't run at them enough. We didn't create chances. There was that hugely frustrating moment from Odegaard where he tried to backheel it and Arteta had a real go at him. And I think that, well, I'm glad I'm not in that dressing room after the match because I'm sure he would have had some choice words to say. But I hope he's also, and I'm sure he is, a big enough man to hold his hand up and say, you know what, I made some mistakes today. Sunday was going to be a hugely important game for us, whatever happened, but it's taken on a little bit more now. It's a learning curve. I hope we take it as that. I hope we focus, and I hope we use our bench better. I hope that we don't have to play the same players, whether they're fully fit or not, because you can't. It'd be hard to convince me after that Trossard was fully fit, that Saka was fully fit. Anyway, I'm sort of tailing off now. I want to say a massive thank you if you've watched this far. And we're so close to 500 subscribers. So if you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Anyway, RC Lens 2, Arsenal 1. And I don't really want to talk about this game much after today. All right, let's hope we win all our home games in this Champions League so that we do progress. Till I see you again. Be lucky. Lots of love.